Good morning. In today's video, I wanted to go over the second quarter review. Are you on track or is it time to reset? Hi, I'm Sherry from SherryLouMiller.com. And if you're new to the channel, here on my channel we focus on the micro principles: mindset, intent, choices, action, and habits, all as a way to create flexibility in our budget by earning more than we spend, spending intentionally, and saving automatically. So let's get started with today on a second quarter review. We're already into July. And this year, I typically only do an annual review. But this year, I decided to do a mid-year review because I saw myself needing to pivot in my personal and business life. So let's briefly start with personal because most of the video will focus on my business. So my personal life, if you've been following the channel, I recently did a video on moving to Portugal, which is still the plan. But once again, it's been delayed for several reasons, but mostly I want to resolve some issues with my health before I go to a country solo traveling. So I've decided, because as I mentioned probably often, I was getting a little anxious because that's part of my personality. Things aren't moving on my time frame. I get a little anxious. So I've had to learn to just step back and let it unfold as it unfolds. The timeline will present itself when everything is supposed to happen. It will happen, which, as you know, is a firm belief of mine. So for right now, the exit date is open-ended, but it will happen. Now, as far as the business, for the most part, my business has been on Etsy for selling mugs as well as printables, and I also have a site that sells some customizable clip art. But most of my income does come from my site that sells printables and mugs. Well, recently, as I've been doing the videos on the how to use Canva and how to sell digital products, I've gotten more involved in that, and I actually like it. I like playing around with Canva, learning the new features, using that in the development of some of my products, whether it's the mug designs or the printable designs. So I've taken more of an interest in digital planners specifically. So I had taken a course last year and another one this year on not so much just using the templates, but designing the planners from scratch. And I really like that. So I've decided to somewhat pivot my business. So in the last couple of months, I've been reviewing that. So I've had to revamp my business plan. And when I sat down to do probably my first mid-year review, because I usually do an annual review on my birthday in November, I looked at where my business was and where I wanted it to go. And I examined where I am now and what I'm enjoying doing. And that is the digital planners. I created a few small ones for myself, and I was using them for different aspects. I created one as a health journal to track some of the foods that I'm eating, keep up with my doctor's appointment, and so on and so forth. I've created one for fitness because, yes, again, I'm talking about losing weight. But I've created that to track, just my weigh-ins. I don't weigh often, but I need to weigh more often so I can keep up with my progress. And then I've created one for my business, because I have paper planners and they serve one purpose, but I sort of like using the digital planner for my business because as I change things, I can just move them around. It works a little bit more efficiently for me. So let's start with this year. And then I didn't want to forget, I reviewed my finances because last year my business was impacted. The income was overall, it wasn't as off as much as I thought it would be, but different times of the year were down from 2019. So what I did this year is I compared 2021 so far to 2020 and 2019. And then I needed to see areas that I could improve, where I could reduce my expenses, increase my income, maybe add another product line, add different product lines. What could I do differently to meet my goals? Now, last year, depending on how you were impacted in your life, affected each one of us differently. But as far as this channel, I focus on earning more than you spend and spending intentionally. And I think last year's events, 2020's events, caused most people to take a look at their life and see if they were adequately prepared for what happened. Some of us were, some of us weren't, some were more prepared than others. And an opportunity to see, do you just want to have one source of income if you did? Because some people, my business was impacted. People who worked as employees lost their jobs through no fault of their own. And if you weren't adequately prepared, you were relying on others for help to maintain your lifestyle. So as a result of me personally, when it first happened, not knowing what was going on, how long it would last, and my inflows, my cash inflows were slowing down, I needed to slow down the outflows too. So I had to take a look at what was really important, to examine my budget and see the things that I needed to have versus the things that I wanted to have. And as that unfolded, I've always been, ever since the 2008 hardship, more intentional with my spending. But I think last year caused me to be a little bit more laser focused because I needed to slow down the bleeding. Well, to really figure out what's important and what isn't important, the things that we could live with and the things that we couldn't live without, if you sit down now and you look at, okay, last year I had to cut back. Did I really miss those things? Do I really miss those things? Are they things that I just want? Are they things that I need? Because I think as you earn money, you should be able to enjoy it. But sometimes, because once again, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and she mentioned the latte factor. And I really just don't understand why that gets up under people's skin as much as it does. Because it doesn't say that you cannot buy a latte. It's just representative. It represents the things that we spend on autopilot. My daughter and I were talking about this the other day because we don't have cable, we have streaming services. And she had signed up for something that she forgot about. And it was just coming out of her account. And I've done the same thing sometimes, especially if I put it on a credit card. If it's coming out of my bank account, I'm a little bit more attentive. But on a credit card, sometimes, I'm not paying as much of attention as I should. So these to me represent the latte. Things that we just do because we always do it. It's not that we're really conscious of it or it's in our intent. At that time it was, but maybe things have changed and we've just forgotten that we're doing that. So in this particular podcast, she was speaking on buy the shoes, buy the latte. If you want to, you need to increase your earnings. And I agree, you do need to increase your earnings. But as I've stated before, everybody has an opinion. All these financial professionals, myself included, our actions and habits are based on things we've experienced, so we've adjusted our life and we're living by the principles that are best suited for us. And you have to do the same. As you listen to people give advice, what works for you? So in the case of that, just earning more than you spend and buying the latte, I don't subscribe to that. Yes, you do need to earn more. But a lot of times, myself included, as we start to earn more, we start to spend more. We earn more, we spend more. A lot of times, our lifestyle is keeping up with our earnings. So it's not just a matter of earning more, it's earning more than you spend. So as a result, being more intentional about your spending, yes, increase your earnings. But if you want the gap to keep increasing, you can't keep leveling your expenses with your income. So I disagreed on that, and I don't really care about a latte or not. I do think that you should monitor the things that you're on autopilot. Are you just doing it because you've always done it? Or is it something that you could really live without? You really don't care that much about it. It's just become a habit, and it's unintentional. It's mindless. So becoming more intentional about your spending allows you to increase the gap, and as a result, increase the flexibility in your budget. So as I stated in my review, I compared three time periods, 2019, well, two time periods, 2019 to 2020, 2020 to 2021, because obviously 2019 was before everything happened, and now in first and second quarter 2021, the economy is starting to come back. So last year at this time, it was new to everybody. And so you may adjust your spending not to something that typically represents your lifestyle or typically represents your spending habits. You were just adjusting to as a reaction to what was going on. Now in this year, the first two quarters of the year, you may be getting back more to what's normal for you or the new normal. But in any event, when you compare your spending habits over those time periods, what things were you spending on in 2019 that you may have cut out in 2020 and you haven't brought back in 2021 yet, but you really don't miss them? And maybe you're spending on something differently. Maybe you saw during that time period that you did not have as much saved and invested as you should, but you were spending a lot of money on things that just really weren't important to you. You were just spending money to be spending money. And in that regards, I think now is the time to sit down and reset if that's what you were doing. And even if you weren't, still review your financial habits to see, are they in line with your long-term goals? And if they're not, then do you need to reset? Or if what you're doing is working for you, do more of that, just times 10. Because who knows, what's going to happen? No one can predict the future. We don't have a crystal ball. But you want to have adequate savings or investments to fall back on in the event that your primary income is affected. So let's kind of pivot to business. If you've been watching the channel and you're using some of the videos, the how-to videos, to create your own digital products, or maybe in order to create a side hustle or replace your income, start monitoring what's selling. And if you're already in business, if what you were selling is not selling as well as it has been in the past, which is kind of what happened to me. Some of my top sellers that I went back to, they aren't selling as well now. So something shifted. So I've been going through Etsy the last week to see what's trending, what type of designs are selling better than others. I try not to do a lot of seasonal things, but I do have some seasonal things in my shop. And we're coming up on fourth quarter. So now is the time to figure out, what are you going to do when October hits? Because you want to be in place in October. So now is the time to do your research. If you need to pivot, pivot now. If you need to revamp your shop, look over your keywords, make sure there's still popular keywords, there's still keywords that people are searching for. And keywords are used on any search engine, but I'm primarily speaking on Etsy because I've been looking at that. So I'm having to, next week, I've been keeping track of some popular keywords, and I need to go back and revise most of my listings and see. And actually, I'm going to split test because I was watching a couple of YouTube videos, which I had never thought of doing that, is duplicating the listing that you have. So if you have listing A, and in the past it was selling well, but now something's happened, and you can see that other people in that area are still selling things, but your sales have dropped off. So you need to evaluate if your designs are still popular, or if your keywords are still popular. And as opposed to changing everything on that listing, copy the listing. Etsy allows you to do that. And then change either the pictures that you're using, some of your tags, modify your description, and allow both of the listings to be on your site at the same time, and see if one outperforms the other. So if listing B starts to outperform listing A, then your keywords and maybe your images were not resonating with the consumers anymore, the buyers. And it wasn't a matter of your product wasn't great. It's just that it wasn't catching the attention of the buyers. So if you split test, if you keep one in place, don't do anything with that, especially if it was a popular item before, and then you do a listing B and you do something different, then you're able to see if the listing is still overall it's okay. You just need to change some of the things that you were using to describe the item. So I've gone over things that I am doing in my second quarter review, comparing my spending from 2 different time periods to see if the things that I gave up were really important to me and I want to get back to that, or I don't really miss them and I'm never going back to it. And 2, I'm pivoting in my business. I'm keeping my shop with the printables and the mugs. I am adding more inspirational things because that's what I'm being drawn to. So I want my business to reflect my interest. And I am starting another shop on the digital planners because I enjoy using them and I enjoy creating them. And since I've been doing the how-to videos on Etsy, I actually like doing the how-to videos because I like to pass on the things or the skills that I'm picking up or learning along the way on my journey. So I think with this mid-year review, the overall objective is to prioritize the things that are important to you. It is not to give up the latte or give up whatever it is. It's just to spend your money on things that align with your long-term financial goals and your values. Have fun with your money, but also put aside some for a rainy day. Save for the future. Increase your earnings so that you're earning more than you spend. That's the objective, the primary objective of this mid-year review. It's just to sit back and reflect. So second quarter 2021 compared to second quarter 2020. 2 different time periods. The world's in a different place. The economy's somewhat stronger. So you may be free to do a little bit more than you were last year. People are traveling more, they're out more. So it is it's not apples to apples, but it is a time to see based on that time, because for me, I'm a homebody. But being in the house last year did start to get to me. But some things I don't miss, because before I was going out maybe a few times a month, meeting friends for dinner or happy hour, and I don't miss that as much as I thought I would. I still get together occasionally, but I'm not going out several times a month. I like walking. There's certain things that I realized during this time period that I like to do. Other things that I wasn't able to do, I don't really miss doing those. So in this time, just sit down and figure out what you're going to do the remaining 2 quarters if you do annual reviews that will keep you on track for your goals. And if you're planning on selling, whether it's a Shopify, I don't do Shopify, but it's a Shopify store or Etsy or something, use this time now to analyze what's working and what isn't working. Use this next quarter, 3rd quarter, to prepare for 4th quarter, which is still the biggest online, probably retail quarter out of the whole year. People will do more in that quarter than they do annually. So get yourself set up and use this time to reflect, to analyze how you're going to budget, what products you're going to sell, your marketing, everything. What works, what doesn't work, and be honest with yourself. So good luck in your future endeavors. I'll see you next week. Next week I have a guest that's supposed to come on. We're going to talk about educating our youth, changing the financial family tree by providing personal finance tips to our children, because they're the future, and a lot of this isn't offered in schools. And she does this on her blog. She has a couple of summer boot camps and other programs, so I've invited her on because every once a month I like to have a guest to talk about financial literacy, because I think all of that's included. When you're running a business, you still have to be concerned with your finances. I mean, that's the purpose of earning money, is to spend it wisely and save it for your rainy day. So enjoy your weekend. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you're notified the next time I post a video. Thumbs up always helps me. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And I'll see you next week.